Everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Washington County Board of Education. This time I call the meeting to order and declare a quorum. We have all members present this evening, and our student member is also in attendance. I invite you to stand with us as we say the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, let's begin with approval of this evening's agenda. Is there a motion?
So move.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Is there a second? Thank you, Dr. Zegmeyer. Any discussion? All those in favor of approval? All right, we have a unanimous approval of this evening's agenda. And the minutes?
Mrs. Williams, I move the approval of the closed business meeting, August the 1st.
Closed
session, August the 1st, 2023.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Okay, our vote is on approval of the minutes of the closed session dated Tuesday, August 1st, 2023. All those in favor? All right, we have a unanimous approval of that set of minutes.
Mrs. Williams, I move for the approval of the business meeting minutes for the same date, August the 1st, 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Gaspard. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Evans, thank you. Are there any additions or corrections to the business meeting minutes of Tuesday, August 1st, 2023? All right, then we'll move to the vote. All those in favor of approval? We have a unanimous vote, and the student member concurs, so we have two sets of approved minutes. Thank you, Mr. Gaspard. This is the time in our business meeting where we have public comment. I have no one on the list of those who would have signed up in advance. Is there anyone out there who would like to come forward?
Two options.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Mary Herringa, and I am the UNISERV Director assigned to the Washington County Teachers Association. Carol couldn't be here this evening. She is on her way to Portland, Oregon for new president's training provided by the NEA. So on her behalf and my behalf as well, we wanted to take a moment to thank Joni Burkhart for all of her help and hard work for last week's Teacher Induction Academy and for allowing us to be a part of it. We were able to meet and sign up many new teachers, and we were also able to get donated supplies into the hands of our new teachers. Speaking of supply donations, this week, Cushwa Brewing in Williamsport is hosting a supply drive for WCPS teachers. Marcus Thomas, one of the brewery's co-founders, reached out to WCTA a few weeks ago, wanting to find a way in which he could help out teachers and help out the school district. If you stop in at Cushwa this week and drop off school supplies, you'll receive 15% discount on your first drink. And on Friday, from 4 to 8 p.m., they're hosting a release party for a new drink that is called the After School Snack, partially in honor of teachers. All the donated items will come to the WCTA office, where we will work quickly to get them into our classrooms. We invite the board to join us as we celebrate a new school year and thank Cushwa for their support. And speaking of support, I want to thank Lifehouse Church for their donation of 56 boxes of supplies that arrived in our office this morning. It will go a long way towards stocking our classrooms. On a personal note, I want to thank Dr. Sovine, the HR team, and the entire district for being so welcoming as I have moved across the country and started my new role here in Washington County. I've been met with nothing but kindness and collaboration, both professionally and personally. In addition to being the UNISERV Director, I'm also a parent of a WCPS fifth grader and the spouse of a WCPS employee. You are getting all of the Herringas this year. While wearing my parent hat, I've been able to join the PTA at my son's school, and it's clear how much the staff and the community care about our students and our schools. I'm looking forward to a wonderful school year, and I hope everyone enjoys a little last bit of summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Herringa. Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward? All right, this time we'll have board member response to public comment. If there is any. Okay, seeing none.
Welcome.
At this time, we'll move to old business. Our first item of old business is the second reading of proposed changes to policy KD, opportunity for public comment at board business meetings, town meetings, and public hearings, and the procedures governing such proceedings. Good evening, Mrs. Ram.
Good evening, President Williams, members of the board, Dr. Savine. The Board of Education approved the first reading of proposed changes to policy KD at its public business meeting on August 1st, 2023. Following the approval, the Policy Committee placed a notice on board docs and the school system's website seeking comments from the public on the proposed changes. The committee has not received any comments. The committee is now recommending the Board of Education approve the second reading of proposed changes to policy KD.
Thank you, Mrs. Ram. Is there a motion, please?
Madam President, I move to approve the second reading of proposed changes to policy KD entitled Opportunity for Public Comment at Board Business Meetings, Town Meetings, and Public Hearings, and the procedures governing such proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. Gifford. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Mrs. Murray. Any discussion, any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to the vote. We're voting to approve the second reading of proposed changes to policy KD entitled Opportunity for Public Comment at board meetings, at board business meetings, town meetings and public hearings, and the procedures governing such proceedings. All those in favor? Okay, we have a unanimous vote and the student member concurs. Our next action item is the second reading of proposed changes to policy BDDJ, broadcasting and recording of Board of Education meetings. Mrs. Ram?
The Board of Education approved the first reading of proposed changes to policy BDDJ at its public business meeting on August 1st, 2023. Following the approval, the Policy Committee placed a notice on board docs and the school system's website seeking comments from the public on the proposed changes. The committee has not received any comments on the proposed changes. The committee is now recommending the Board of Education approve the second reading of proposed changes to policy BDDJ.
Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move to approve the second reading of proposed changes to policy BDDJ entitled Broadcasting and Recording of Board of Education Meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Mrs. Murray. Any questions, any discussion? Okay, we'll move to the vote. We're voting to approve the second reading of proposed changes to policy BDDJ entitled Broadcasting and Recording of Board of Education Meetings. All those in favor of approval? All right, we have a unanimous vote of approval with the student member concurring. That concludes our old business. We'll move to new business. Our first item under new business is the first reading of proposed changes to policy IGDL, student activities, eligibility at high schools. Mrs. Ram.
The Policy Committee reviewed policy IGDL at its public work sessions on June 29th and August 8th, 2023 at the request of staff. Staff recommended and the committee concurred with proposed changes to the policy that updated to conform a current practice and changes required as a result of the blueprint for Maryland's future. The proposed changes take into account that since the Board of Education last amended the policy, academic schedules have changed and more students are taking dual credit courses. Under the proposed changes, a student will be ineligible if they are enrolled in 5 or more courses per semester and receive a failing grade in 2 or more courses in a marking period, or if the student is enrolled in 4 or fewer classes per semester and receive a failing grade in 1 or more courses in the marking period. In addition, the school system will factor into eligibility dual credit courses by either the marking period, if applicable, or the semester grade. Also, with the implementation of a student information system several years ago, eligibility can now be declared effective the day report cards are posted to the student information system, and no longer the next school day following distribution of report cards. Proposed changes to the policy reflect this operational change. The committee is recommending the Board of Education approve the first reading of proposed changes to policy IGDL.
Thank you, Mrs. Ram. Is there a motion, please?
Madam President, I move to approve the first reading of proposed changes to policy IGDL entitled Student Activities, Eligibility, High Schools.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Any questions, any discussion? Okay, we'll move to the vote. We're voting to approve the first reading of proposed changes to policy IGDL entitled Student Activities, Eligibility, High Schools. All those in favor of approval? Okay, we have a unanimous vote of approval. Student member concurs. Our next action item is the first reading of proposed changes to policy KGA, disposition of real property.
The Policy Committee reviewed policy KGA at its public work sessions on July 19th and August 8th, 2023. The committee reviewed the policy at the request of staff because the policy had not been reviewed for several years. The committee's first recommended change is to place the policy in the proper format. The committee is also recommending the addition of language to the policy that states the Board of Education is to follow state laws and regulations that govern disposing of real property. The committee is recommending that the Board of Education approve the first reading of proposed changes to policy KGA.
Thank you, Mrs. Ram. Is there a motion, please?
Madam President, I move to approve the first reading of proposed changes to policy KGA entitled Disposition of Real Property.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Do we have any questions, any discussion?
I do have one question. Part A of the proposed change here, Maryland law will govern the disposition of real property of the Board of Education when it determines that property is no longer needed for school purposes. Isn't that all we really need there? Do we need any of the other 4 bullet points there? Or?
I would say that we do, because the law goes on to explanations in various areas. So that encompasses the overarching that we're required to say that we will from time to time make a determination. And then the approvals, like the state superintendent, other aspects of it, we do need to spell it out in policy. The law also requires us to have a policy, so we need to reiterate it.
I mean, I didn't have any issue with any of it in there. I just kind of thought it was a little extra, so that's fine.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Any other questions? Okay, we'll move to the vote. We're voting to approve the first reading of proposed changes to policy KGA entitled Disposition of Real Property. All those in favor of approval? All right, we have a unanimous vote of approval, and the student member concurs. The next action item is the first reading of proposed changes to policy KDB, Freedom of Information, Public Information Act requests.
The Policy Committee reviewed policy KDB at its public work session on August 8, 2023, in order to update the policy to conform to changes in state law. State law requires the Board of Education designate types of public records that are to be made available to any requester immediately on request and to maintain such a list. The changes of policy that the committee is recommending meet the requirements of the updated state law. The committee is recommending that the Board of Education approve the first reading of proposed changes to policy KDB.
Thank you, Mrs. Ram. Is there a motion, please?
Madam President, I move to approve the first reading of proposed changes to policy KDB entitled Freedom of Information, Public Information Act requests.
Thank you, Mrs. Bickford. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Murray. Any questions, any discussion? Okay, we'll move to the vote. We're voting to approve the first reading of proposed changes to policy KDB entitled Freedom of Information, Public Information Act request. All those in favor of approval? All right, we have a unanimous vote of approval, and the student member concurs. Our next action item is the first reading of proposed changes to policy ADC, use and possession of tobacco products.
The Board of Education updated policy ADC in January this year. However, on July 1 of 2023, the state of Maryland legalized the purchase and possession of cannabis and cannabis products for recreational use by adults 21 years of age and older. The Policy Committee thought it prudent to review policy ADC at its public work session on August 8, 2023, in light of the recent change to state law. The committee is recommending the policy define cannabis and cannabis products, and the policy be updated to include a prohibition on the use of cannabis or cannabis products on the Board of Education property as still required under federal law. It is important to note that under state law, a student who is a qualified medical cannabis patient may be permitted to receive medical cannabis on school property. This may only be administered in accordance with state laws and regulations governing medical cannabis. The committee is recommending language that notes this exception. At this time, the committee is requesting that the Board of Education approve the first reading of proposed changes to policy ADC.
Thank you, Mrs. Ram. Is there a motion, please?
Madam President, I move to approve the first reading of proposed changes to policy ADC entitled Use and Possession of Tobacco Products.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Any questions, any discussion? Okay, we'll move to the vote. We're voting to approve the first reading of proposed changes to policy ADC entitled Use and Possession of Tobacco Products. All those in favor? All right, we have a unanimous vote of approval, and the student member concurs. Thank you, Mrs. Ram. Thank you. Item of new business is this evening's consent agenda, and we have Mr. Scott Bakedel, our Supervisor of Purchasing, presenting. Good evening.
Good evening, President Williams, members of the board, Dr. Sovine. Tonight I have 3 items for your review. These items were reviewed by our Purchasing Review Committee and are being recommended for approval, and staff is available if you have any additional questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bakedel. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move to approve the awards, renewals, and procurements for literacy instructional resources and support to Amplify Education, Inc. at a cost of $68,264.22. Snow renewal to Potomac Grounds Care, LLC, Clean Cuts Lawn Care, LLC, East Coast Landscaping and Excavating, Heartland Earthworks, LLC, at the rates listed, and mental and behavioral health providers to various vendors at unit prices.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Is there a second? Thank you, Mrs. Murray. Any questions, any discussion? Mr. Stauffer?
I just have one. Why are these extra materials just going to 2 schools?
So those schools have a grant that is through the state of Maryland Department of Education that allows for money only to be spent at those schools.
Oh, okay.
And probably somebody from curriculum maybe could give you a better.
She's waiting.
She said it's correct.
Okay. I didn't know if there was anything additional to that, but I did know that those 2 grants are specific for those schools.
Any other questions? Any discussion? Okay, we'll move to the vote. We're voting to approve the awards, renewals, and procurements as read by Mr. Bickford, tonight's consent agenda. All those in favor of approval? Okay, we have a unanimous vote of approval, and the student member concurs. Thank you, Mr. Bickford.
Thank you.
Next item of new business is the consideration of fiscal year 2025 general fund operating budget calendar, and we have Mr. Prue, our Chief Operating Officer, presenting. Good evening.
Good evening, Mrs. Williams, members of the board, Dr. Savine. It just seems like we just closed up the FY24 budget, doesn't it? But it is time to look at our calendar for the FY25 preparation. This calendar is pretty standard to the calendar the staff brings in front of the board and was vetted by the Finance Committee at its committee meeting last week. I'd like to highlight just a couple of items that potentially are changes from what you've seen in previous years. This year on September 5th, which is actually the date of our next board meeting, there'll be a work session on budget priorities for FY25 so that staff has a clear understanding of the board's priorities as we start to prepare the budget and we hear from various department heads and schools about their needs, and we can vet a number of those items right out of the gate, knowing what the board's priorities are. So that's a new item to this year's budget calendar. You may note a slightly later date for the presentation of the superintendent's draft FY25 budget, roughly the third week of January. This allows a little extra time for the preparation. I think as we've shared with you previously, this is the first year under the blueprint that we will have to budget all expenses to the school level. So it is going to take a little more time for that preparation. This also gets us closer to probably within a few days of when the governor will be releasing his budget. So we'll have a better sense of what the revenue streams will look like. I think in past years, we've done the superintendent's draft and then the superintendent's recommended before we even have the governor's budget and see a full vision of what the state funding looks like. So this slows that process a little bit, gets us closer on the draft to when that information is released. And then in the first week of February, we'll bring to you superintendent's recommended budget. And at that point, we should be 99.9% firm on where we are with state budgets and state allocations for the coming year. We have as you flip onto the second page, we show March with a date to be determined for a work session or joint meeting between the Board of Ed and the Board of County Commissioners to discuss the board's projected budget. There is some speculation, I think in conversations Dr. Savine has had with a few commissioners, that they may want to schedule all agencies that receive funding from the county commissioners a little bit earlier this year. So we've listed as March. That's typically when we've had this meeting. I would not be surprised if this presentation actually rolls into February and gets ahead of their own staff's first rendition of their budget. So I put that on your radar screen. And then we'll look to project a board-approved budget on April 16th. And then, of course, we'll make any adjustments we need to after that fact. So those are the highlights, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for those highlights, Mr. Prue. Is there a motion, please?
Madam President, move to approve the proposed FY 2025 budget calendar as a general guideline for development of the fiscal 2025 budget.
Thank you, Mr. Stouffer. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions for Mr. Prue? Any discussion? I'll move to the vote. We're voting to approve the proposed fiscal year 2025 budget calendar as a general guideline for development of the fiscal 2025 budget. All those in favor of approval? All right. We have unanimous approval, and the student member concurs. Thank you, Mr. Prue.
Thank you.
Our next agenda item also involves Mr. Prue, and this is the naming rights for Smithsburg High School's press box and ticket office.
Thank you again, Mrs. Williams. As the board may remember, you entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Smithsburg Athletic Boosters to seek naming rights in support of their public-private partnership for the improvements at the Smithsburg Stadium. So tonight I have an amendment to the attachment, which is the listing of all the naming rights, and then I also have seeking your approval on 2 specific advertising rights within that. So if you're looking at your materials, when you go to the amendment, it's actually labeled as page 11 of that document. We are adding 2 additional naming right opportunities on the school's press box. One was already approved. The original was approved just about a year ago. We have a new naming right that is for a smaller sign, shorter term, a little less money, and there's an opportunity for a second or a third placement really on that press box. So what we've added is now we've changed naming right 11 to 11A and added 11B and 11C. And then I also have for your approval this evening a naming right for the ticket office from Allegheny Dental Care. That is worth $10,000 for a 10-year term. And the naming right on 11B, the press box, is for Smithsburg Family Dentistry, and that is $7,500 for an 8-year term. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on those naming rights.
Thank you, Mr. Prue. Is there a motion, please?
Yes, I'd like to move to amend the naming rights agreement with Smithsburg High School Athletic Boosters with 2 additional sign locations on the stadium press box, and to approve a naming right agreement on the stadium press box and ticket office.
Thank you, Mr. Gessler. Is there a second, please? Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. Any questions, any discussion? Okay, we'll move right to the vote then. We're voting to amend the naming rights agreement with Smithsburg High School's Athletic Boosters with 2 additional sign locations on the stadium press box, and to approve a naming right agreement on the stadium press box and ticket office. All those in favor of approval? All right, we are unanimous with our approval, and the student member concurs.
Thank you.
That concludes new business, and Dr. Sovine, we'll go to you for the superintendent's report.
Well, and thank you, President Williams, members of the board. I have 3 updates this evening. It was an honor to welcome over 200 new teachers to WCPS. Last week, we had our annual Teacher Induction Academy. It's a time that we celebrate our new teachers and also show them the ropes of our schools, our community, our curriculum, and our culture. The class of 2023 includes teachers who are new to the profession, as well as experienced teachers who are new to Washington County. I'd like to thank our mentor teachers for organizing the Teacher Induction Academy. Their support to our new educators this week, as well as beyond, is truly appreciated. Also, I'm proud to announce that we have a record attendance at this week's Summer Summit in downtown Hagerstown. This is an optional professional development opportunity for our teachers where they can get a jump start on the school year by honing their skills and brushing up on their curriculum content. We have over 1,000 teachers registered to participate, and that's more than half of our teaching staff. It goes to show their level of commitment and dedication to our students. Coming back a week early for optional professional development. We're also so thankful to our business community. A lot of our downtown restaurants are offering specials for our teachers and even adjusting their business hours to serve them. We appreciate the city of Hagerstown working together with us to make this event a huge success. Also, just want to extend a special thank you to Dr. Willow, our Associate Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, as well as the entire curriculum instruction team for their preparation and organization for this 3-day event downtown. Also want to extend my appreciation to our senior leadership. We've all been downtown. It's been a pleasure to interact with our teachers and also to just say thank you to our local businesses. This is my final public opportunity to remind everyone that the first day of school is Monday, August the 28th. That's right, we're now less than 2 weeks away from kicking off the new school year. Hope everyone has had a wonderful summer, and we look forward to welcoming students back in 2 weeks. I know everyone wants to start the school year well prepared, and as a result, I'd like to share some information to help everyone get ready. First, school bus routes are now live on our WCPS website. You can enter your address to find your child's bus stop. If you have any questions about your child's bus route, reach out to your child's school. Also, school supply lists are also posted on the WCPS website. And finally, we will be posting student schedules and class assignments later this week. Those will be available on Parent View and Student View the evening of Thursday, August the 17th. Finally, we also look forward to welcoming all of our teachers back to their classrooms this coming Monday, August the 21st. Truly believe the year ahead will be one of growth and success for our students, our schools, our community. And I want to thank all of our partners and stakeholders for your ongoing support. President Williams, members of the board, that concludes my update for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Savine. Okay, this time we'll have personnel action. We have Dr. Webster, our Associate Superintendent for Administration and Leadership, presenting.
Good evening, Mrs. Williams, members of the board, Dr. Svine. As discussed earlier during closed session, there are several staff changes for your review. At this time, I ask for your approval of today's personnel actions.
Thank you, Dr. Webster. Is there a motion, please?
I move to approve the personnel actions dated Tuesday, August 15th, 2023, as presented in closed session.
Thank you, Mrs. Murray. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. Okay, we're voting to approve the personnel actions as discussed in closed session earlier this afternoon. Those personnel actions are dated today, August 15th, 2023. All those in favor? All right, we have unanimous approval. Thank you, Dr. Webster.
Thank you.
That brings us to reports to the board. Have board member committee reports. Dr. Zentmeyer, would you like to begin with Curriculum Instruction Committee?
Yes, Curriculum and Instruction will meet at 2 p.m. on August 17th here. We'll have summer updates, Bester and Pangborn updates, secondary ELA resource consideration, and that's just about it.
Thank you. Facilities, Mr. Gesford?
Yes, the facilities will be meeting on August the 29th at 1 o'clock in the first floor, one of the rooms down there toward the cafeteria.
Thank you, Mr. Gesford. Finance Committee, Mr. Evans?
Yeah, we just met, was it last week? Talked about some of those purchases we just made today, that grant-funded curriculum purchase we just made. Talked about some of the other upcoming purchases and the budget calendar. And our next meeting will be on Thursday, October 12th.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Human Resources, Mrs. Murray?
Resources will be meeting on Tuesday, September 12th at 1 p.m. in the board conference room.
Thank you, Mrs. Murray. Mr. Bickford, Policy Review and Development?
Unfortunately, because we had so many policies today, we're going to meet again, so we're going to send more policies to you to have to read. But we are meeting on September 14th at 1 p.m. I assume at this point it'll be in the board conference room, but if it gets changed, we'll let you know.
All right, thank you. Does our student member have anything from student government as yet? Anything headed your way?
The Washington County Association of Student Councils will be meeting later this month before the school year starts to get prepared for the school year, update our bylaws and constitution to adjust to our new structure. My two-day student council conference that I recently attended following the last board meeting went very well. It was a pleasure to meet student leaders from across the state, and I got to know other student members very well. I got to meet our state student member officially and actually have a real conversation with her. It was very pleasant to meet everyone and get new perspectives.
Thank you. Thank you for that report. All right, we'll move to miscellaneous business. We have an item under miscellaneous business that we always have, and that's future agenda items. Colleagues, you have a list of future agenda items in your packet. Both of those items will be on September 5th, the work session. One is the fiscal year 2025 budget priorities that will be established, and the other is a work session on MCAP for the 2022-2023 results. Also, under miscellaneous business, I would like to take this opportunity to make a public announcement. On behalf of my fellow board members, I would like to announce that with the start of the school year, our public meetings will be held in a new format to enhance transparency, promote greater public engagement, and increase efficiency and effectiveness. Public meetings will continue to be held on the first and third Tuesday of each month. The first meeting of the month will be a work session. During work sessions, the board will receive reports from the superintendent and staff, and we as members will have the opportunity to discuss topics that are before us for consideration. The business meeting, typically held on the third Tuesday of each month, will be reserved for student and staff recognition, public comment, and taking formal action on matters before us. The board is looking forward to implementing this revised meeting structure. Holding a work session followed by a business meeting 2 weeks later will enable members to more deeply engage in the developments of the school system, enhance communication and collaboration, and allow the public to learn more about the work being done by the board before any formal actions are taken. That concludes miscellaneous business, and that brings us to board member comments. Would you like to begin down there again?
I can. So if you ask me who I am, I'd probably say an English teacher. Wasn't always so, Mr. Peru. I was a math nerd in high school all the way to my junior year in college. But I fell in love with Brit Lit. Teaching Brit Lit starts out with epic heroes. Think Odysseus, Beowulf. It's a long narrative poem of a larger-than-life hero who is strong, brave, courageous, of noble birth. They operate in a vast universe and overcome evil with good with help of supernatural intervention. So why am I talking epic heroes? Because last week I got to meet epic heroes. First, at our new teacher induction. Both mentors and new teachers deserve major kudos. Then I met with mentor teachers of our accelerated new teachers. They will touch one life, but that one life will touch hundreds. And our system continues to grow because of their investment. Finally, I met our student apprentice teachers, 30-plus high schoolers who will indeed impact our future as they teach our elementary school kids to read. This year's mentors made such a big difference in our schools. I asked how many of them felt more like a teacher than when they arrived. Hands timidly went up. Then I said, how many of you played school when you were a kid? Hands went up all over the place. We are in good hands. So, watching these students cultivate a learning relationship with our younger learners is a blessing and a joy, and I can't wait to do it again this year.
Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. Mr. Evans?
Yeah, I heard a lot of good reports, not just from Dr. Zentmeyer, about all the good things that were happening last week. So congratulations, staff, for putting on a good, I don't want to say show, that makes it seem disingenuous, but putting on a good week of work there, and good luck to everyone on a great upcoming school year.
Thank you, Mr. Gesper.
As many of our teachers and staff are starting their first anniversary of being a teacher, we have a lot of teachers and staff members that are celebrating many, many years. And it's always entertaining to a degree to see a report every week when someone has finally reached that goal of 30, 40, and sometimes 45 years. So I congratulate the teachers who are starting their first year and hope they'll be here for 45 years, and congratulating the teachers that have been here for 30 and 40 years, that they're continuing their success here, and we appreciate them. But I also have to say, my parents are celebrating their 59th wedding anniversary this week, so congratulations to them and putting up with me for many years. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Gesper. Mr. Stauffer?
Yeah, most definitely.
Ditto to what's been said about the new teacher, or the Teacher Induction Academy. I had the privilege to be out there and welcome some of the new teachers. Also had the privilege, along with Mrs. Murray, to attend the summer school graduation the other evening. There were 44 graduates, but I don't think they were all there. but it was good to see it. And I was amazed at the makeup. For people out there who don't understand why we ask for some of the things to run our school system, you just had to be there and see the makeup of the students, their names and so forth. A lot of foreign names and so forth in that group. No reflection on whether they were at summer school or not, but it's a changing system out there, and people more and more have to realize that and so forth. So I hope the new teachers, as Mr. Gesford, everybody has said, who are starting their first year, I truly hope that they enjoy teaching in Washington County as much as I did for a lot of decades. It was a lot of fun, but I'm not going to do it again. So.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Mr. Bickford.
I'd like to wish good luck to the new teachers as well, and to the veteran teachers, including my wife, who will be starting Frederick County Schools this Thursday. They got to go back a little bit earlier than Washington County. But I do want to share one fun story. She stopped by her school building, and she's a media specialist, so you can imagine the carpet gets heavily used. And they've been requesting a new carpet in their building and have been denied for several years. So this year she went in, and the custodial staff was really surprised, were really excited to tell her something. And they brought her into her media center, and they had taken it upon themselves to dye her rug. So she basically has a new looking carpet, all blue. I'm just hoping that on the first rainy day, there's not blueprint prints around the school. But it just goes to show that how the custodial staff is so important. And it just touched her so much that they did that for her, and she didn't even have to ask for it. And they were so excited to do it. So I thought that deserved some public recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Mrs. Murray.
Well, I too enjoyed attending the first meeting of the new educators with my colleagues. And it's always an honor to officiate at the summer graduation, to see what those kids have done. They were so excited. They worked so hard over the summer, and they got their diplomas. So that was just wonderful. It's always exciting. I want to welcome back all the staff and remind people to watch out for students as they're going to school. Slow down, never pass a school bus. So I hope everyone has a safe and happy school year. Thank you.
Graham?
I also had the pleasure of attending the new teacher induction ceremony. It was very nice to see all the new teachers. Everyone was very pleasant. It felt very good to stand up, introduce myself, and get a very large round of applause. That felt amazing. I know students are in very good hands this next year. And I'm proud to announce that I've begun plans to visit every high school in Washington County within the first 2 months of the school year, hopefully. So I'm looking forward to meeting all the new students.
Great, great. I too was able to attend the new teacher induction academy with my colleagues and to welcome them. And I'd like to say something about Dr. Sovine's welcome address. One of the things that he commented on was the sense and feeling of family in Washington County Public Schools. And Mr. Stauffer has said he has taught in Washington County for many decades, and I too have had that privilege to be an employee of Washington County Public Schools for decades, and I have always felt a member of a family, so it warmed my heart to hear Dr. Sovine talk of family and the importance of feeling a part of family. I was impressed by the diversity. We had teachers there with many, many years of experience. We had teachers there who were coming in their first year to teach. We had teachers from all over the United States and outside the United States. That was pretty incredible, as well as homegrown students who are right here from Washington County Public Schools. So it was really a great morning, and I welcome all new teachers, and I ask that you embrace our students with the care and respect that they deserve. I know you will. And I wish all a happy start to the school year, and enjoy those last few moments of summer. Dr. Savine?
Thank you, President Williams. I'll just say, it's already been described. It's been an energizing 2 weeks as we've welcomed our new teachers, and this week many of our returning teachers had a jump start, and in 2 weeks we look forward to embracing and supporting our 22,000 plus students, and certainly we're fortunate to have engaged, supportive parents. But I want to take a moment to thank this board. Being elected officials, big responsibility. The number of public meetings, the preparation, quite a bit of information and details to review for these meetings, but also the committee meetings. But you've all referenced the number of events that occur on a weekly basis. And we're fortunate to have a very committed board that is very much engaged in this community and in our schools. And I thank you for the level of support that you provide to this community.
Thank you, Dr. Savine.
Thank you.
Colleagues, any final words? Okay, thank you all for a day of great meetings. We are adjourned.